Hi Gavin, thanks for talking to us today. There's been lots of action going on over the summer behind the scenes, and it'd be great to get an insight into what you've been up to. Can you firstly tell us about the players we've retained and those who have parted ways with the club?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been publicised quite a bit on the various platforms about who we've retained. So I won't go into listing them in any sort of order. I think everyone's seen that. But I think it's fair to say that I'm really quite happy with what we've retained. I think that was really important that as much as new signings are, because we are focused on this a lot of times, we have to look at the fact that that team was way up there in the form guide in the second half of the season. That team that was rebuilt and went at it was very high in the form guide. So what it does is it gives me a foundation to stand and sort of look at it and think, okay, this is in a good place already. There were obvious gaps in respect of it. So to be looking at Henry and Tomo and Zav, when they're forming the foundation of our defensive, and then you start adding players that we'll no doubt talk about to enhance that defensive area. Payne's come back from being out on loan after the injury in the last bits of the season. And then we look at that foundation of the midfield as well as being there. Obviously we lost our couple of loan players. But I think it's fair to say that, obviously from a centre forward point of view, we pretty much ripped it up and have started again, and are going to need to, and have made signings, but going to need to probably make at least one more. So yeah, we're really happy with the guys who have come back. Obviously we've seen Wrighty go to Averley in the last week or so. Look, let me cover that off. Probably from my point of view, we didn't get that quite right in respect of firstly announcing him. But what I will say is Wrighty was coming back to the club. I'd invited both goalkeepers back in respect of those that played in the league last season, and of course we can't forget Addy on top of that, who had a really good loan spell. So there was going to be competition for places, and what couldn't come with that was any guarantees financially, because could we keep 3 keepers at the club financially? Well, maybe that might be a bit top heavy, although I would have liked to. And I totally understand Joe's point of view. Joe had a firm offer to go elsewhere. There weren't guarantees here in respect of it. And I think I totally understand his decision. So from that point of view, probably we should never have announced him, because we maybe knew things might be going on behind the scenes in that respect. But I really wanted Joe to come back, and but I totally respect his decision, and probably would have done the same thing in his shoes.
Great stuff. You mentioned some new signings. You and your team have managed to secure some quite exciting new players so far. What can you tell us about them?
Yeah, well, we've obviously seen the 2 defenders come in Mr. Donaldson from Chelmsford, which I think is a fantastic signing for us. I tried to get him last year, didn't quite come off, and he went to Chelmsford. But from that point of view, I think he's a leader. He's someone that does the right things. He looks after himself. He's a model professional. Someone who's going to lead on the pitch. And for me, I just felt that when I had a sniff that he was available, it was an important one to bring in, because I think with the magnitude of the league going up, not just a notch but several, I think again you're going to need those sorts of characters. Avan coming in, he's played at Chesham last season again, really accomplished fullback, but he's more versatile than that, to be honest with you. So can play in a magnitude of positions. And excellent, not long ago being a pro, and another lad that does things really well, and someone I've been really impressed with when we've played them before. So I think it's really 2 good additions to actually strengthen the back line. We've seen Tommy and we've seen Lamar come in the top end of the pitch. Both offer us different things. When you're looking to set up, and you're looking to maybe set up the 2 up front at times, you're looking for a toolkit of options. That's the truth of it. You're looking for different types of players who can blend and work together. Lamar's definitely going to offer us that pace. great finish on him as well. And Tommy, as we saw when we played Hornchurch last season, was an absolute thorn. When you speak to the guys when we played them down at their place, speak to our defenders, a hell of a time with Tommy. You know, physical, you know, secures the ball, handful in the box. You know, we saw him come in last pre-season, and I've spoken to Tommy, so I'm not saying anything out of the ordinary. Wasn't fit. You know, at that stage, hadn't really done a pre-season, didn't think it was a viable option for me, but he's a player I know and he's a player I understand, and you know, he's had the pep talk from me in the respect of come back fit, you've got to come back, because you know, he's a big lad, and you know, he needs to be fit and mobile and being all the things that I definitely know he can be. And if that's the case and he comes back in that sort of shape, then I think he's going to be a thorn in the side to defenders. We haven't mentioned, I don't think, Kai yet, but I will throw this one in there now. It's not been done. The only reason it's not been done with the media is because Kai's had an extended holiday, but we've also secured, well, in shaking hands, Kai Brosnan, who's a wide player. Many probably remember that he played for us, against us for Hemel last season. Again, a player that I've really liked, brings pace and directness into the game, and I think that was something that we were missing last season. Can play right or left, so you know, with Lennon going, which has been well publicised, you know, it gives us an ideal, if not slightly different replacement.
Great stuff. And where are you with recruitment, and can the fans expect more signings?
That's what we'd like to be, yeah. We would definitely like to be making more signings, there's no question. I think, you know, I mentioned about possibly playing two up front. Well, you can't function with two. You've got to look at the bringing in at least another one, if not another two. And there's hard work going on at the moment to try and secure a signing. It's not secured at the moment. It's terribly difficult in the respect of centre forwards, especially because they are somewhat of a premium, and they are somewhat of a group that you know, test your resolve, test your patience, and you have to work hard to get them. But yes, that is it, and we haven't discounted a couple of other positions as well to bring in. I think the squad needs to come up to a reasonable size with 7 subs on the bench this season, and we'll try and fit, but it's got to fit within our budgetary requirements.
So we've not only seen changes on the pitch, we've also seen some changes to the backroom staff, with John Underwood coming in as your new assistant manager. What does he bring to your coaching setup? And with John Nurse as head of football, how does his role support your work on the pitch?
Yeah, I'll cover nursing first because I think it's right that we do. You know, John has been working with me for a long time now. Firstly, what I will say is that this can only make us stronger as a management setup. You learn things when you learn the first season. You learn that you need to try and bridge gaps towards other clubs. Some clubs have it, some clubs don't. But I think, John, when we look at the analytics that goes into how we sort of look at opposition and ourselves, the recruitment side of things, a long-term strategy with football, or a longer-term outlook with football and where we're going. John's worked in that environment before, and I think from my point of view, if we can get that bit right and then bring in effectively someone to be my assistant who fits the bill, I'll come to that in a minute, then it only makes us stronger in respect of it. So I think we've got a hell of a management team here, which is, to be honest with you, what we're going to need. We are bridging gaps like never before. Let's be honest about it. You know, I don't. It's not a negative saying. You know, with the magnitude of the teams that have come in this season, some are coming down, some are actually coming up. You know, in that respect, we maybe in the little bits that we can't make inroads in, if we can do it within our management structure to be even more professional and to be more resilient, then that's going to help bridge gaps that we need to do this season with the likes of the teams that are coming in. John Underwood, known John a long time. John's experienced. He's been a manager at the level. He's also been a couple of management step 3 in recent years. And John is a good coach. He's a level-headed guy, more importantly, he fits Enfield Town. That's really important for me. Fits the sort of morals and ethics, and will fit in with the people that are around here. Really positive character. And you know, John, you know, we met on Saturday morning with the management team as it is, because we can't forget Carl and Connie and Ed in that respect. And Dino's still going to help out when he needs to, when he needs filling in. So, and we've got a really good blend there, a really, really good blend in that respect, and people bouncing off each other, different personalities that you need. And I think that's really important.
Thank you. Finally, what are your ambitions for the club in the 25-26 season?
You know, it's never been for me, look, let's go back to when I first started at this football club. I don't mind saying it, behind the scenes, I really fancied us for promotion that season. But really never shouted about it at all, never went like, that's just not my style. I think, you know, as we sit here now and we look at how this league is setting up this season as stronger than it's ever been before, I think we've got to look at sort of reasonable progress. I think that's what we've got to look at. Now, what reasonable progress looks like, well, let's see where we are. Let's see where that ends up at the end of the season. Because, you know, what I don't want to do is make huge statements like some managers did last season about what they're going to do, etc. Because, you know, realistically, I know where we will sit. You'll get all the keyboard warriors out who will have a league table under their belt already. This is how it's going to finish. They had us bottom last season. They were wrong, and they'll probably have us bottom this season. And let's hope they're wrong. So for me, if we can improve and have a reasonable improvement on the pitch and off the pitch, which is really important, that we keep learning lessons and we keep evolving as a football club, because this is a really young football club. That's what it is, and it's now a really elite level. So, you know, we can't forget that. We can't look at it and go, do you know what, this football club's made massive, massive strides. It needs to keep moving. It needs to keep moving on the pitch. It needs to keep moving off the pitch. Because the moment we stand still is the moment we find ourselves in trouble, because the league is that progressive, and it's as simple as that. What I'm not going to do is tell you that we're going to do this, that and the other. Listen, it's right and proper for Enfield Town. It fits what we are to go about our business quietly, and that's what we'll do, and that is an extension of me. It's what mirrors me as a person, and that's how I want it to be honest.
Brilliant. Thanks for your time.